Hey, welcome to our channel. Make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss our latest content.
I came home to a silence that was already waiting for me. Eveline was sitting at the dining table, not reading, not scrolling through her phone, just sitting. It was like watching someone wait for the final piece of a puzzle to arrive, a piece that would only confirm a picture they already knew by heart. The fatigue from my day clung to my shoulders like a wet coat. I loosened my tie, the familiar rasp of silk, a small, normal sound in a room that felt anything but. My eyes searched for her, and when they found her, they searched for peace. There was none to be found. Her arms were crossed. Her face was too still to be just tired. It was sculpted into a seriousness that made the air in the room thick, heavy. I knew. Even before she spoke, I knew. This wasn't about a bad day at work, or an argument with one of the kids. This was fundamental. This was about the ground beneath my feet. We need to talk, Ronan. Her voice was level. No tremor, no anger. That was the most terrifying part. We'd had serious conversations before. We'd weathered storms. But this wasn't a storm. It was the calm after the storm had already passed through her heart, leaving nothing behind but the wreckage. She didn't waste time. I want a divorce. There, the words, 4 of them, enough to demolish 2 decades of a life. She didn't ask for a break. She didn't suggest therapy. She didn't mention a crisis. It was a statement of fact, a declaration. For a moment, I was frozen. My heart started a frantic, panic drumming against my ribs, a wild bird trapped in a cage, but my face remained a mask. My body felt slow, delayed, as if the sound had to travel 1,000 miles to reach my brain. Silence descended. It wasn't an absence of noise. It was a presence, a heavy, suffocating blanket. I pulled out a chair across from her and sat down. Slowly, deliberately. My movements felt borrowed, like I was watching an actor in a movie. I looked at her, really looked at her, searching for a crack in the facade. A flicker of doubt. A hint that this was just an outburst, a moment of venting that I could soothe and repair. Nothing. Her posture was rigid, the posture of someone who had thought it all through, rehearsed it. This wasn't a spontaneous fire, this was planned demolition. My own voice felt like a stranger when it finally came. I love you, I said, the words feeling fragile in the hostile air. Eveline, if there is any part of you, any part at all that remembers what we built, the nights we stayed up with the girls when they were sick, the trips to your parents' house, the times I found you asleep on the couch and covered you with a blanket, just look at all of that before you do this. But she seemed mechanical, distant. The problem isn't you, Ronan, she said. And the words were meant to be kind, but they were the cruelest of all. You've always been a good father, a good husband, a decent man. She paused. But something inside of me has changed, and as unfair as it sounds, I need to follow a new path. My throat tightened, a knot of grief and disbelief. Still, I kept my voice steady. I wouldn't give her the fight she might have been expecting. I wouldn't give her a villain to justify her decision. Then I will respect your decision, I managed to say. As painful as this is, I won't make a scene, I won't start a war. We'll do this with dignity. For the girls. For the first time, a flicker of something crossed her face. Relief. She had expected resistance, and in its absence, a small crack opened. Not for doubt, but for guilt. I've been talking a lot with Blair, she mentioned. Blair, her best friend, her divorce lawyer best friend. And suddenly, it all clicked into place. The late-night phone calls she took in the other room. The girls' nights that had become more frequent. Everything started to make a horrible, sickening kind of sense. She hadn't just decided this. She had been preparing the ground. From there, the conversation shifted. It became a business transaction. She mentioned the mandatory 90-day legal separation period. She explained, with chilling clarity, that during this time, we could both see other people. That it wouldn't be considered infidelity. The idea was repulsive. A sour taste in my mouth. But I just nodded. It was like being in a dream, where you hear the most absurd things and your body just can't react. But I had to know the rules of this new, broken world. Do we live in the same house during this time? I asked. My voice was hollow. How do we handle the kids? Who tells them? The bills? The car? She had answers for everything. A plan for every broken piece. It would be more practical, she suggested, if you found a place close to your work. I'll have primary custody, at least in the beginning. I agreed. What else could I do? But a fire lit inside me, a single point of heat in the cold emptiness. I will never be an absent father, I said, the words sharp. I want dinner with them, Wednesdays and Sundays, to keep some kind of routine for them, and we tell them together, carefully, so they know it's not their fault. She listened, but her eyes were distant, disconnected, like a CEO presenting the final slides of a corporate merger she had orchestrated months ago. She just wanted it to be over. I had to ask, one last time, what's really going on, Aveline? Is there someone else? She looked away. Her gaze fell to her hands, clasped on the table. It doesn't matter, she said quietly. This decision is about me. About the life I feel isn't mine anymore. That was worse than a confession. I knew her tells. I knew that glance away. I knew what it meant. And even without hearing a name, I felt the gut punch of a betrayal that had been hiding in plain sight. Still, I didn't lash out. If you believe this is for your happiness, I said, standing up, the chair scraping against the floor, then we do it properly. But you need to understand. Decisions like this have a price. There are 2 little girls upstairs. 2 girls who still believe their mom and dad are forever. Her composure finally cracked. For the briefest of moments, she seemed to hesitate. Doubt clouded her eyes. But then it was gone, replaced by that cold resolve. It's too late, she whispered. I had no energy left to argue. I walked to our bedroom, our room. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the photo on the nightstand. A vacation in Santa Monica. The 4 of us, smiling, hair wild in the sea breeze. The blue ocean a perfect backdrop. The image of a life I believed was real. Alive. Until tonight. Now, it was just an artifact, a record of something she was determined to erase. I returned to the living room. She was still standing there. Do you want me to leave tonight? I asked. No, that's not necessary, she said. We can organize it in the coming days. I just nodded. I picked up my phone. I walked to the girls' room, pushing the door open a crack. I watched them sleep, their small chests rising and falling in the soft glow of the nightlight. My world, my entire world. I closed the door, went back to the living room, grabbed a pillow from the couch. Aveline stood in the hallway, a silhouette in the dim light. She looked like she wanted to say something, but the words never came. She just turned and went into the bedroom. Alone. That night, sleeping on the couch, my mind raced. A torrent of questions with no answers. But one certainty began to form, hard and cold in the pit of my stomach. This separation would be anything but simple, and as much as I had accepted it with maturity, deep down, something told me Aveline had no idea at all of the consequences her choices would bring. The next morning, the house felt different. The air was heavier. The sunlight seemed dimmer. I made coffee. I cooked pancakes, just like I did every Sunday. I called the girls down with the same sweet voice I always used. A performance, for an audience of 2 innocent hearts. Aveline sat at the table as if the night before had been a bad dream. The girls chattered about school, a project, an inside joke. The sound of their laughter, usually my favorite music, was a cruel, sharp noise. I smiled. I responded. But inside, my mind was a storm of static. I looked at Aveline, trying to see her. Her body was there, but she was a million miles away. Her answers were automatic. A script. When the girls went upstairs to get ready for the day, I seized the moment. We need to talk about the details, I said. We sat on the couch. The same couch I had slept on. I had spent the dark hours thinking, planning my own survival. I'll look for a small apartment near work, I told her. It'll be easier for me to see the girls. She agreed. That seems fair. Wednesdays and Sundays, I repeated. Those are my days with them. Non-negotiable. She just nodded. No enthusiasm. No argument. It was all part of the plan she had already accepted. Then, the delicate part. Money. I dreaded this. The stories you hear about divorces turning into financial warfare. But Aveline was practical. Coldly so. I don't want to take anything from you, she said. Just what's necessary to maintain the girls' stability. We discussed bills, credit cards, school fees, health insurance. Each topic was a sterile, painful reminder that we were liquidating a life, not just dividing assets. The car. The first big purchase we made together. It should stay with me, she said. You'll be close to work. You can walk. I agreed. Even though that car held more than just utility, it held memories. Road trips. Singing off-key with the kids. It was a time capsule, And she was claiming it. She mentioned Blair again. How her friend would help her, legally and emotionally. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. I wanted to scream about this friend, this architect of my family's ruin, but I held it in. Any reaction, any anger, would be used against me. See? He's impulsive. He can't accept it. I had to be calm. I had to be the stable one. For my daughters. When Evelyn was busy in the kitchen, I walked to the girls' room. I watched them for a moment. The younger one was putting a bow in her older sister's hair. The image was so pure, so beautiful, it was like a physical blow. I had to turn away, a knot tightening in my chest until I couldn't breathe. I sat in the living room, my hands over my eyes. I didn't cry. I just sat there, motionless. When she came back, I composed myself. We need to decide when to tell them, I said. She wanted to wait. To organize things. I disagreed. They already feel it. Evelyn. The silence. The tension. We're lying to them by not telling them. She conceded. The following weekend. Enough time to find the right words. As if there were any right words to break your children's hearts. Later, when the girls were out with their grandmother, I started cleaning out my drawers. A pointless, mechanical task. Tucked away at the bottom, I found an old notebook. An improvised diary. Shopping lists. Stray thoughts. Ideas for vacations we would never take. On a blank page, on pure, desperate impulse, I started writing names. Names of women. The school psychologist. The manager of the bookstore downtown. A colleague from my old office. Women who had, at some point, shown a flicker of interest I had never acknowledged. Then, without thinking, my pen wrote a name. Cora. As soon as I saw it, a wave of guilt washed over me. Cora, Evelyn's sister, my sister-in-law. I scribbled over the name furiously, the ink bleeding through the page, as if I could erase the thought itself. I slammed the notebook shut and shoved it back into the drawer. It was a pathetic gesture, a desperate attempt to prove to myself that my world hadn't ended, that there was something, anything, on the other side of this. It was pathetic, but for a moment, it helped me breathe. The days bled into one another. I found an apartment, a simple studio, 5 blocks from my office, the smell of fresh paint and loneliness. I signed the lease. The move was scheduled for 2 weeks later. The news had already started to spread. An old college friend messaged me. He'd heard through Blair. Of course. I typed back a simple reply. It's true. I turned off my phone. I had been the last to know about the end of my own story. Evelyn had her support network. Her plans. Her options. I was just at the beginning, trying to figure out how to navigate a life I no longer recognized. The day we told the girls was the worst day of my life. We sat them down on the living room couch. The 4 of us. A family unit, about to be fractured forever. I held my older daughter's hand. Evelyn held the younger one's. I spoke the words. Softly, but firmly. That Dad was going to live in a different house for a while. That we both loved them more than anything. That none of this, none of it, was their fault. My older daughter's silent tears broke my heart into a million pieces. The younger one just looked confused. Is it because you had a fight? No, sweetie, I said, my voice cracking. Not because of a fight, because of grown-up choices. After, we hugged them tightly. Evelyn took them upstairs. I stayed on the couch, unable to move. I felt like I had lost something vital, something that could never be made whole again. The day I moved out was surreal. 2 suitcases, a box of books, and a picture frame of the girls. I spent the day arranging the small space, trying to occupy my mind. When I finally stopped, the silence hit me. A new kind of silence. Not the heavy, tense silence of the house, with Evelyn. This was the empty silence of loneliness. For the first time in 20 years, I slept in a bed that wasn't next to hers. No sound of footsteps in the hallway. No quiet laughter from the girls' room. That night hurt more than the night she asked for the divorce. A few weeks later, she showed up at my door. Unannounced. Her eyes were puffy, red-rimmed. She looked like she had been crying for days. She asked to come in. I was tired, so tired. But I stepped aside. She sat on my small, second-hand couch, and after a long, agonizing silence, the dam broke. She confessed everything. The name was Spencer. She thought she was in love. He was her chance at a new life, she'd believed. Kind, mature, intelligent. It had started after a conversation with Blair. They had been seeing each other for months. I listened. I didn't react. The name didn't surprise me. I had already known, in my gut, that there was a name. She tried to justify it. She said Spencer had promised to leave his wife, promised her a future. But the moment she filed for divorce, he vanished. Stopped returning her calls, started treating her like a mistake, an inconvenience. He had a wife and 2 young children of his own. His wife found out and threatened to expose everything. I remained silent, not out of coldness, but because words felt useless. She kept talking, a desperate torrent of words. She felt humiliated, betrayed. Blair was distant now. People at work were whispering. Her own sister, Cora, had reprimanded her firmly. She had lost control. Everything had collapsed. She realized, now, how blind she had been. She looked at me, her eyes pleading, hoping for something. Anything to ease her guilt. I just asked one question. Do you still love him? She stammered. I don't know what I feel anymore. I just know I'm ashamed. I got up, went to the small kitchen, and poured her a glass of water. I handed it to her. I sat down beside her, but not too close. I understand loneliness, I said, my voice calm. I understand frustration, the desire for something new. But while you were feeding illusions with Spencer, I was trying to hold our girls' world together. You broke something, Aveline. Something I spent my life building. She broke down completely then, sobbing into her hands. She talked about the empty promises, the shame of being discarded. She was looking for a lifeline, for me to pull her out of the hole she had dug for herself. But I was exhausted. When she finally ran out of tears, I waited for the silence to settle. Then, without raising my voice, I said the words that had to be said. You need to leave. She looked up, shocked. Ronan, I need someone. No, I said, my voice firm. I can't help you anymore. I am taking care of our daughters. I am taking care of this new apartment. I am taking care of my own shattered mind. Carrying your pain, too. It's too much. You chose to leave, Aveline. Now you need to deal with what that means. She stood there for a moment, expecting me to back down. To be the old Ronan, the one who always fixed things. But he was gone. She grabbed her bag with trembling hands, gave me one last, guilt-filled look, and walked out the door. 2 days later, she was back. She said she had left a coat in the apartment. An excuse. I let her in. While she was looking for it, she saw the notebook. The one I'd hidden in the drawer, now left out on a small shelf. Without thinking, she picked it up. She flipped through it, and she stopped at the page. The list. Her eyes widened. I saw the exact moment she saw the name. The one I had tried to scribble out. Cora. Her head snapped up, her face a mask of disbelief and rage. Are you serious? Her voice trembled. You made a list? A list of women to date, including my sister? I looked at her, and for the first time, I felt nothing but a cold, clear distance. Yes, I said, I wrote that. I stood up and walked towards her. And you know what? The moment you asked for a divorce, I stopped owing you any explanation for anything. She tried to argue, called me low. Said I was playing the victim. I didn't let her finish. You got involved with a married man. I said, my voice dangerously quiet. You lied to me. You lied to our girls. You destroyed everything we built. And now you come into my home and demand accountability for a list written in a private notebook out of sheer desperation? She grew flustered. You always acted so superior, so ethical. Now you're acting like some vengeful teenager. I stepped closer, until I was looking directly into her eyes. You left me for another man, Aveline. And now you want to control who I can be with. If I want to date your sister, I will, because you lost the right to have an opinion about my life when you turned your back on our family. The color drained from her face. She stood there, speechless. Tears came before words. She tried to say something, but only a choked sob came out. She grabbed her coat, rushed past me, and fled down the stairs, crying. As she left, I think she finally began to understand. While she thought she was controlling everything, I had already freed myself from guilt. I closed the door calmly. I went back to the couch and left the notebook there. What was once a pathetic gesture of desperation was now a definitive line drawn in the sand. The marriage was gone. Forgiveness, perhaps that was gone too. But for the first time, in a long, long time, I felt exactly where I needed to be. At peace with my own choices. The 90 days passed with the weight of a lifetime. The lonely nights, the silence, the absence of Spencer, it all became too much for Aveline. She arranged a meeting, a discrete café. She was nervous, fidgeting, When I arrived, she got straight to the point. "I've thought a lot," she began. "It was all a mistake. The divorce was an impulse. Deep down, I still love you, Ronan." I listened in silence. I didn't interrupt. When she finished, I gave my answer. Firmly, quietly. "We'll meet tomorrow at the office to sign the paperwork," I said. "I'm not interested in going back." She was speechless. "Are you seeing someone?" she asked, a hint of desperation in her voice. I gave a small, tired smile. "I don't owe you an explanation anymore, Evelyn." "But no, I'm not." She lowered her gaze. "And you? Do you think I'm still with Spencer?" she asked, her voice trembling. I looked directly into her eyes. "Are you?" She took a deep breath. "He's gone," she whispered, and the tears streamed down her face. For the first time, she truly understood. She had lost everything. And I, the calm man who had always listened, always fixed things. I was at peace with the decision to move on. The next day, we signed the papers. It was quick, formal, detached. When it was over, she looked at me, hoping for something. A sign, a word. I just thanked the lawyer, put my copy of the documents in my briefcase, and said, "Goodbye, Aveline." I walked out without looking back. The months that followed were quiet. I saw the girls, just as we agreed. Wednesday nights were for pizza and movies. Sundays were for the park and ice cream. I was present. Not out of obligation, out of love. It was with them that I felt whole again. It was with them that I rediscovered a simple, uncomplicated joy. Then, a few months later, I sent Aveline a message. "I need to talk to you. Can you come to my apartment?" Alone. She found it strange. She hesitated. But she came. Deep down, a part of her must have thought this was it. The reconciliation. The chance to go back. She rang the doorbell. The door opened, and standing there was her sister, Cora. Aveline froze. Shock rippled across her face. Her body went rigid. Cora's expression was gentle, but firm. She opened the door wider. "Come in, Aveline." She walked silently to the couch and sat down. I came out from the kitchen and sat next to Cora. My expression was calm. Aveline couldn't speak. I took the lead. I wanted to be direct, honest. "I know how this must look," I started, "but I wanted you to hear it from us. Cora and I, we're together. This isn't casual. We're dating." Aveline didn't respond. Her face turned pale, utterly white. Tears began to stream down her cheeks, but she didn't even blink. She stood up, slowly, woodenly. She opened the door and left. Descending the stairs, we could hear her. She started crying, not quiet sobs, loud, wrenching wails of grief, not for a betrayal, because there was none. We had only gotten close, long after the divorce was final. She was crying for the reality she had refused to accept. Months passed. Summer arrived. One afternoon, Aveline was scrolling through social media. She stopped at a post from her sister. A photo. Me, Cora, and her 2 daughters. My 2 daughters. All of us, smiling, playing by a lake. We looked like a family. She stared at that image, as if it were a window into a past she herself had set on fire. She didn't have the strength to comment or to like it. She just lowered her head and whispered to the empty room, "What have I done?" Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any updates. See you next.